Pretty good, thanks.
Good to hear.
Miss you guys.
Miss you
Miss
too.
We miss you too.
Okay, Mike, you got it.
Okay, let's pray.
That's ours.
Most holy and precious God, we thank you for this beautiful day, God, and we just thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for being with us, God, and we thank you for answering our prayers. And we thank you for each Rotarian that's present, each special guest today. And God, we just ask your protection for all of us, our families, our friends, our neighbors, with this COVID-19 virus, God. We just lift up to you those that have been affected by it, those that have lost loved ones as a result of it. But God, we just ask you to give our leaders the knowledge and the skills, God, to help us through this and to come up with the right procedures and the things that we need to do. But God, most of all, we realize that you are in control, and we thank you for that. We ask you, God, to be with our Rotary Club, be with us with all our projects, be with us as we continue, God, to put Rotary in front of our community. And we just thank you, God, for this beautiful day you created for us. And we ask these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to welcome everybody and welcome our guest, Mo. It's so good to see you. Can't wait to hear from you. And I hope that John Daly will be able to join our call as well. So anyway, before we have some conversations with you, Mo, we do have some announcements that we need to make. And first of all, there is a video that we need to go and vote for the Zone 33. I don't know if you've had a chance to go and look at this video, but we're in a competition. There's about 11 different videos, and this email came out from Doug Wolf. I think it came out yesterday. So take a look at the video, vote for us by May 24th. And then tonight at 5 o'clock, everybody should have had an invitation for women in Rotary. It's called 5 o'clock somewhere. And the speaker is Stephanie. Her last name is Urick. She is the Rotary International President. So that email came out from Lynn Kelly. So if you get the opportunity, make sure that you've signed up for it. I'm sure it'll be exciting. I don't think it's just for women. I think it's for everybody. So make sure that you click that link and you signed up for that. And then, sorry, I didn't think. Yeah. Okay, you go play. You go play. I'll be right with you. All right.
Can I go play?
Fortunately, my house is pretty well child-proof, so I don't think there's too many things she could get into. I hope not anyway. So anyway, I did reach out to the fire chief as well as the police chief. And I guess you all probably know that the fire chief lost his dad last week.
Yes.
They had the funeral this past Friday, so I'm sure he's just, dealing with all that right now. And then also Todd Coring's wife, she had emergency surgery this past Monday. So I'm sure they've just been tied up and they haven't had a chance to get back to me, but I did send an email asking if there was any grants we could do for them or anything that we could possibly do for our first responders out there. And let's see, I just want to remind you to send a card to Andy Bunch. And also, Rick Pierce, he had back surgery, and I'm sorry when I sent the email yesterday, I didn't explain that because I felt like everybody knew, but that's the reason why I was asking if you could please send him a card. That would be wonderful. And we just need to keep up our donations to Matthews Ministries. I'm still picking up stuff every week at the bank and at my office. And hopefully, Leslie, you're getting some stuff still at your house. So I'm
getting very, very little. It's dwindled down, and I went to make a final delivery the other day, and I couldn't get in. The lockbox wouldn't work. Have you had trouble with it?
Well, the last time I dropped stuff off, I immediately texted Christy Disbro and told her it was out there. So I didn't know there was a lockbox.
Oh, okay.
So she texted me back, so I'm assuming she got everything that I left that day. And then also, when you get a chance, go take a look at our website. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Go
Hi,
take-
Dave.
Hey, how are you, Mo?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good to see you.
Good to see you folks.
Well, you can't see me. I'm just, my camera's out of whack.
Oh, but you got your picture up there.
Got my picture, and I have less hair in the picture than I do now.
Oh,
It's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Cute. But anyway, what I was saying, if you get a chance, go take a look at our website. Josh has been working on that, trying to get it updated. So I've sent him some pictures. You know, if you have some material you'd like to send him, please do, because he's working on it right now. So that is all the announcements, and I'll repeat a lot of this before we close our call. But I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk with Mo and see how you're doing, Mo. Where's your new area that you're living, Mo?
Well, I'm actually in Brighton, New York, which is it's in Rochester. My mailing address is Rochester, town of Brighton. Moved here on the 22nd of August, 2018. Moved here
Whoa.
so I could be close to my kids. I've got a son, retired cop, lives in Brockport, where I had moved from to Southport. And my daughter, my youngest, lives in Rochester itself. She's got two boys, 5 and 8. And so I moved so I could be closer to them. And now, of course, with all this pandemic, I don't get to see them except on FaceTime. But it's good to be closer.
Have you?
The only thing that the downside, of course, is the climate.
Oh yeah, I bet it is really cold.
It has been, but this past winter, I lived in Brockport, which is just the other side of Rochester. It's west of Rochester for 33 years. And we had some winters when I lived here before. And then I put my 12 years in Southport, came back here, and the 2 winters I've been here have been, far worse than you would get in Southport, but not like they used to be. They're sissy winters now.
Mo, we have a new member that you haven't met. His name is Ted Eckenhoff, and he just put his face in the screen. Ted, why don't you tell and repeat, give us your history and who you are, where you are, and so that Mo knows a little bit about you, and then Mo can tell us a little bit about him. How's that, guys?
That's good.
Okay, that's good.
It works.
For years, I was an automobile dealer in the Philadelphia area. I was a Cadillac dealer and then a Buick dealer. I was chairman of a bank and chairman of a health insurance company and a health provider. I've been active. Mainly, I've farmed. I love to farm. And for 60 years, I've farmed my own farm. And, when I couldn't take care of it anymore, we moved to Southport, and it was like I gave myself a giant raise, tax-free. You get away from New Jersey, it's pretty good. So that's about me, Mo. Tell us about you.
Well, I spent 33 years as a professor at the State University of New York in Brockport. And then when we retired, my wife and I, we moved to Southport. And I had been a member of the Rotary Club in Brockport. I joined there in October of '78. And sometime later on, they talked me into being president there. So I left the club in Brockport, and not too long after I got to Southport, I joined the Southport Club. And lo and behold, I wound up being president there again. And it was both wonderful experiences. I don't know if you can see it, but behind me there's the gold.
Yeah, I see it.
Yes, I see it.
That's from Southport. That was a gift when when we had the changeover and I stepped down as president. So my wife Carol and I moved to Southport in 2006. And she passed away in January of 2017. And my daughter Emily started to work on me to move back to be closer to the family, parts of the family anyway. And I said, I'm not going to do anything for at least a year because I've got friends and good neighbors and everything in the Southport area. So I did. And a year later, she started working on me again and was successful early in the summer of 2018. So I put my house on the market and fortunately sold it without too much trouble. Moved up here. And as I said, moved into the condo that I'm in now on the 22nd of August of 2018. It's an interesting community, legacy community, legacy at Clover Blossom. It's not exactly a retirement home, but it's a senior community right behind Our Lady of Mercy High School, which is in Rochester. And I have 4 kids. The oldest, Kathleen, is in Long Island, Stony Brook, Long Island. Second oldest, David, is a retired cop who still lives in Brockport. Number 3, Eric, is still in the Air Force. He's a colonel, and he's assigned right now at the embassy in The Hague in the Netherlands. And then Emily, the youngest, the baby, is in the city of Rochester. And I've got 8 grandchildren spread around. Most of the older ones are going someplace to State University of New York. Nathan, whose parents are in The Hague, is a senior at Oswego. His sister is a sophomore at Brockport. My daughter Kathleen's kid, her oldest, is going to be a junior at Binghamton. We don't know about her brother yet. He's the one that got caught this year. He missed his senior prom.
Oh,
He missed his graduation, you know. But he'll survive. He's been accepted at a couple of different colleges. I don't know where he'll wind up. To be honest, it's probably going to have something to do with where his girlfriend winds up. You know how that goes.
Always. You know, I forgot to tell you that I joined Rotary Club in 1966 in Philadelphia.
Oh.
And was president of the Philadelphia Club in the 80s. And sometime I'll tell the club about the great clam bake I used to put on for Philadelphia at my farm, where Rotarians did all the cooking.
Oh.
It was a spectacular event.
Was that a fundraiser or just a social event?
Just a social event. I wanted to tell you too, both my wife and I are Paul Harris Fellows. We've supported Rotary causes for a long, long time.
So let me ask you a question, Ted. What was it like since you joined Rotary in 1966 and women were not allowed into Rotary until 1986, I do believe. So what was that like when that happened in your area?
oh, that's good.
It was seamless. You know, it happened at the clubs I belonged to, just it's part of life. You know, as a farmer, you learn to accept change. Change every day, and nothing goes the way you want it to. But I think it's great. It's a big improvement.
Uh-huh.
Well, and the club that I was president of at Brockport, I joined in '78, and when women were first allowed in, it was very interesting. We had 2 or 3 of our members that left.
Oh,
Really?
I never explain it. I could never understand it. Let's put it that way. But the first woman that we had in as a member became our president shortly thereafter. And it's been a big change. I mean, I don't think Rotary would exist as it does now without women members.
Mm-hmm.
The club
Is
I
there-
belong to in Mount Holly, New Jersey, was one of the last clubs in the district to admit women.
Oh, yeah?
And we picked up men from several other surrounding clubs who left their clubs and came to Mount Holly when their original club admitted. I think that club today probably has more in terms of active members, more women than men.
Probably, yeah.
You know, in Morristown, I belonged to a club, the Breakfast Club, and I had an expression. We had a lunch club, and the lunch club owned Morristown and had a majority of women, and the Breakfast Club enjoyed it. We had about 25% women. So to me, it's just seamless. Things go on. It's still Rotary as I remember it, and still doing the great things. I think our challenge for the future is keeping it vibrant. It's going to be tough because of the lack of their social interaction.
I agree. This has been difficult, not just for me personally in Rotary, but for work, for life. It's, I don't know what the new normal is going to be.
Well, it's not going to be very normal.
Normal is overrated.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
Leslie.
Normal 2.0, right?
Yeah. Right. It's right up there with common sense.
mhm.
Not
I
very-
just wanted to say one thing. Mo was my first president. I remember went online to see where your club was meeting, found the address, put an email out to whoever was the president. At the time, I didn't know who it was, and Mo responded immediately. He said, "Come, we have a lunch meeting downtown Southport." Mo was the only one in the room when I walked in, and I was very apprehensive. I know you guys don't believe this, but I'm very shy. So I walked in, and he greeted me with open arms. So Mo, I will always remember you for that.
Oh.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So Mo, are you part of the Rotary Club in your area?
Not yet. I've been looking. It's funny. You guys spoiled me with the lunch club. And all I've got around me are breakfast or dinner clubs.
Oh, you probably have a lot of clubs to choose from too.
I do. Actually, there's a lot around here, but I have not picked one that I wanted to join yet.
Uh-huh.
Plus, my biggest problem, I've got mobility problems. I have to use a walker all the time now. So
Oh,
Right.
that makes it a little bit more difficult where I'm going to meet.
Well, they are probably meeting just like we are through Zoom. This is something that's been we're doing this across the country, all the different clubs. So maybe you can connect now through
Right.
Zoom.
You can keep joining us.
Oh,
yes.
That is, it's really not, it's really nice to be able to see you and some of our previous members, so we can get them to join us. Right now, we're scattered. Clay, are you still up in Nashville?
You're muted.
You're muted. There you
How about
go.
that? Does that make it there?
Better.
We got probably two more weeks, maybe 3. And then actually I told my sister I would take her back out to Colorado, so I'll try to drive her out at some point.
Jeez.
Hmm.
She's been with me for about 3 months, I guess. We were caught down in New Orleans when the pandemic occurred, and so she's
Wow.
been staying there with us.
Hmm.
Well, by the time you get back, I'll be your neighbor.
Well, I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, and I've met some people over on that area of town, and they're really super nice. I don't know I don't know them all, but the 3 neighbors that I do know are really nice. And that's one of the reasons that in the real estate business, it's location, location, location. And Hope has always, ever since we moved down here, been wanting to get into Southport, and we couldn't afford anything in the downtown area of Southport. The only one that I think, Karen, you're downtown, aren't you?
Yeah, but I'm not in the high rent district.
No. Well, the only one that I know is down there is Sheila, and Sheila's building a house, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that. But the people are a lot different than what's on the island over here. And I tell people we've got coprolites, Luddites, and very few Erudites on the island. But after Ken Thomas was elected mayor, Hope said, "We're moving." So that's when we decided to buy a house. We bought a house in January, and it got settled with probate on April 24th. So we redid the floors and the walls and stuff.
And that's when Dave and I looked at each other and said, "There goes the neighborhood."
I know. I know.
Where in Southport, Daryl? Where is it?
Yeah.
At the end of Robert Rourke.
Oh, Smithfield Woods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Next to Clay, P.D.
Yeah.
Midget's house, Erlene, P.D. Midget's
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, I live in the Ridge. You pass.
I know where you live,
Yeah.
but we bought P.D. Midget's house, and I know you.
Oh,
That
did
is.
you?
Hey, we know PD
Yeah.
from church.
Yeah.
He's a former
Yeah, that's right.
pastor at Trinity.
That's this
Well,
past.
Hope has his job at
Oh,
Wrightsville Beach.
oh.
Where?
Wrightsville Beach United
Uh-huh.
Church. So that is a church with 2,800 members.
Wow.
And so she is the senior, she looks after the seniors in visitation pastor, something like that. So she works 20 hours a week, and it's really great now. She doesn't have to drive into Wilmington, does the phone bit. And so we're looking really to downsize. And then when we downsize, we'll take the extra money out of this one and build a house in the mountains.
Oh, where?
Lake Lure, just east of Lake
Oh,
Lure.
yeah. Yeah.
And I think Peter and Mary are going to join us up there. They seem to like anybody that knows Western North Carolina knows what a beautiful place it is in the fall and in the summertime.
In the summertime.
Yep.
Yeah, not the winter.
No.
No, you want the winter. Mo is enjoying the winters, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Winters are easier to enjoy if you don't have to go anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me.
33 years where I had to go to work every day. Now I'm retired. I don't have to do that. So I can look out the window and say, "Oh, look at that. It snowed."
Yeah. Well, back in the end of the 80s, Hope and I had decided after we got married and been married for 10 years or so, we decided we were fed up with the winters in Ohio. And I sent out 26 resumes and I got 2 job offers. One of them was from the Lord Corporation, and the Lord Corporation was I went down, they were headquartered, or they had an office in Cary, and that's where I wanted to go work. But they said, oh, great, we'd love to have you, but we want you at the headquarters. The headquarters was in Erie, Pennsylvania.
They could fix snow.
We visited Erie, Pennsylvania in mid-April, and there was snow alongside the road, and that snow was black. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry. So I took the offer from Fasco Corporation in Fayetteville and moved down to Fayetteville, took over their international operations, and came down there. And I had been working for a defense contractor that did special operations. And so I enjoyed Fort Bragg and the connections over there. But there's no way that I could stand that lake effect. My brother used to live in a place called Warsaw, New York, Letchworth State Park. I don't know if anybody knows that.
Yes, we know that.
They call it the Grand Canyon of the East.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful area, but he had 20-foot snow drifts in front of his house. There's no way I could take that.
I used to teach with a woman that grew up in Erie. She always referred to Erie as Dreary Erie, the mistake on the lake.
I'm sure it seems that way. And I just couldn't take it. Buffalo and the Five Finger Lakes region of upstate New York is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous area most of the year. But the winters, you see the barns up there. I don't know if any of you have ever been up there, but they have these, I thought they were chimneys and stuff, these structures out the end of the barn that go up, way up high. And I found out that that's how they get into the barn to feed the cattle in the snow. It's 10 feet above the roof line.
Erie's Chamber of Commerce in Erie advertises "Visit Erie," where the air is as brown as the grass.
Well, that's one of the nice things we have around here. We have weather that is constantly changing, and the wind direction is, I never know which way the wind's going to be blowing, but it is moderate. We've got the water around here that keeps the temperatures pretty nice, and you go inland an hour into Whiteville, someplace like that, it's hotter than blazes in the summertime.
Yeah.
Down here, it's very, very nice.
I went to the Blueberry Festival last year, or maybe it was the year before, and it was so hot. There was no breeze. I thought I was going to pass out. And I was like, I'm so grateful to live in Southport where we have the breeze coming off the water. It makes a big, big difference.
The salubrious breeze.
And you just had your first named storm go by, right?
Yeah, Arthur.
It was a non-event.
Yeah, it missed us.
Yeah, it was a storm. Yeah, tropical depression.
Today we had I figured a lot of you guys would have been down at the park when the vessel was supposed to come by.
It's 3 o'clock.
Is it
No,
3
now
o'clock?
It's 4 o'clock now, Arlene. I just got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The large container ship with 14,000 20-foot containers on board.
Really?
14,000 containers.
Leslie, did you say it's now going to be 4 o'clock when it comes
Yeah, I
down?
just got an update from the police department's website. It's 4 o'clock
Okay.
because we want to go down, but I don't know how parking's going to be. So
Oh, it'll be.
Well, if you happen to be going down Al Street toward the river, and one of those comes by, it looks like they brought in New York. Looks like a giant building.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
gonna watch
supposed to be.
video.
It's supposed to be the largest ever through
Yep.
Southport.
Yep. Even Wilmington, the largest container ever to get to Wilmington.
That's true.
Yeah,
I think I'll be down there at 4 o'clock to see this.
I'd love it.
Get back
Yeah.
on 5 so I can do that rotary call.
I think it would be interesting to see it go through the bridge at Wilmington.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
going
it's
to
not going to go through the bridge, that's for
Not
sure.
doing
It's probably going to be pretty late for it doing that because it's taken quite a while for it to even get to here. So
Yeah.
It'll
Where's
get
it coming
unloaded
from?
before that.
It came through the Panama Canal.
mhm.
Oh,
Wow.
huh.
And that was one of the things that they've been trying to upgrade the ports of Wilmington. Kent, you could probably talk more about it, but Tom Adams, who runs the State Port Authority, would make an excellent speaker for us. If I can
Oh.
on there. Kent, do you think you can get Tom Adams? Kent? Him and Debbie's out and having lunch again. But Tom is the director of the Ports Authority in the state. And one of the things that they've been trying to upgrade, the reason they've been trying to upgrade the ports at Wilmington is to allow the new container ships that are coming through the Panama Canal, the super ships, to be able to dock here in Wilmington. And with the Panama Canal opening up to the bigger vessels, then there'll be, there'll be more traffic coming from the Far East, and they need ports on the East Coast that can handle it. And I just lost Ted, but I used to do a lot of stuff up at Packer Avenue Terminal in Philadelphia. And they, hey, Kent, you're back.
I've been here. I just had my mouth full of food. I was eating lunch. So.
You suppose you could get Tom Adams to talk to our club?
Yeah, we could probably get him.
Okay, that would be a good program.
Port, yeah.
I like your new picture. How many is that when you were what, 40?
That was last year's.
It was?
No, it was when I think it was my 50-year-old professional picture.
Uh,
I actually had a little hair then.
Hey, don't talk about hair. We got a lot of, Mo, how much hair you got these days?
Not much.
There it is.
Certainly no more than I had in Southport.
Well, if we keep having these Zoom meetings, we should budget for makeup.
All right, who's that?
Leslie.
Yeah, always the disturbing one. Leslie's always the disturbing one.
Leslie's fan club.
Yeah.
No, what happened at the district Zoom this week?
District Zoom this week. Well, I made some notes.
Okay.
They were recommending that we do a lot of websites, emphasis on websites. And of course, she kept pushing that the new theme for the next year is Rotary opens opportunities.
Rotary opens.
And her point is that opportunities open Rotary. She recommended that we take advantage of the club engagement modules. Karen, that's what we were talking about, the engagement module. Josh Whitaker is doing our website, and they have paid the DACDB engagement module has been paid for by the district, and so they're wanting us to use that as a freebie. And values and like-mindedness, and she encourages us to find people who share our values and are like-minded in terms of serving others and serving the community and stuff. And of course, they're encouraging us to participate in Rotary7730.org. So that was the meeting this week, and very interesting. Keep up on Monday, and somebody's microphone is scraping around. But Ted, we were not Brewer, Ted the senior. Okay. Ted the senior. We were talking about the vessel that's coming up to Wilmington.
Yes.
And are you familiar with Packer Avenue Terminal in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Very much so. I used when I was overseas manufacturing for Chrysler Corporation. We shipped out of Packer Avenue with a fellow by the name of Lenovo, Ted Onival. Anyway, he called his company. But the Packer Avenue, was that a big container terminal now? Is it?
It's bigger. It's bigger now. The biggest one is in Newark. That's the massive. I think that's where it all started. Was in Newark. We used to ship out of Baltimore.
Yeah. Dundalk in Baltimore. I shipped a lot out of Dundalk Terminal in Baltimore as well.
Yes. We used to ship cars to the Middle East out of Baltimore.
Yep. Yep. Is this ship that's coming in at 4 o'clock this afternoon in Southport, it has got 14,000 40-foot containers on board.
14,000.
That's huge. Each one of the containers is 8 foot by 8 foot by 20 feet. And of course, there'll be a lot of 40-foot containers on there. That's huge.
I wonder what.
Pardon?
What is in the containers?
Everything that's produced in China and all over the place, from appliances, filled with appliances, to components to go into assembly operations, to clothing. And then we ship out, if you've been here in Wilmington, you'll see a lot of these containers that contain phosphates and scrap metal and trees and even wood chip.
Yeah.
Well, this ship is headquartered in Korea, isn't it?
Korea.
I thought it was a Korean vessel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it could be Korean flagged, and the way they work it, those things start in Seoul and go down to Kaohsiung and Singapore and pick up all around the circuit,
right,
and then head across the Pacific, come through the Panama Canal, and then up. When I was at Fasco, we used to ship into Long Beach, California, and then use a rail system to
mini
ship
land bridge.
from Long Beach, California, over to Charlotte, and then they would truck it on into it. And I was one of the things that I did when I went to Fasco was cut that transit down to less than 2 weeks from out of the factory in Taiwan to, and I would bring in 3 to 4 container loads a week into Fasco.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the number of buildings they're making out of containers.
It's pretty good. A lot of the modularization, the fellow actually from Scotland County, actually from Lumberton by the name of McLean, he's the guy that standardized on containers. It came up with a standardized dimension. So then they could stack them like Lego blocks and put them on ships. And then when each one of the containers locked together, and it became an integral part of the ship. Right. And they even had some container ships that you would float them, disassemble them, and float them into the inland waterways, and then keep the container modules intact and unload them inland. And we would bring them all the way into, the furthest I knew of was to Cincinnati, Ohio, to Covington, Kentucky. And it's just amazing the transportation industry what has happened there. Just absolutely amazing.
Mo, we are getting, like they told you, a new Lowe's today, and we're getting a new general store downtown.
Oh, yeah?
It's going to be very nice. Southport, what's the name of it? Southport Market.
Something like that.
Southport Market.
Southport Market.
Where's that going to be?
We also got, since you've left, we've got a new Wendy's. Maybe,
Oh, yeah.
maybe Bojangles. I don't know if they were here. And they tore down Atlantic Seafood where we used
Oh,
to.
yeah.
They tore that
Tore down what?
Atlantic Seafood.
Oh, yeah?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
They got 2 new shopping centers too. Midway Shopping Center at the corner of Midway and 211, and then what's it called? The new shopping center.
Boulevard. What it's called?
What's it called?
Bob Grady Boulevard, the intersection of 211.
Okay, where you know where the old the old Lowe's store was? In the northwest corner of that intersection, diagonally across from Atlantic Seafood, is another new shopping center. That's where the new Lowe's grocery store just opened.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Mo, have you been going out and doing your grocery shopping?
I've been doing some of it, but I've been actually getting it delivered for the last couple of months. Yeah. I haven't been going out much at all. I'm a real shelter in place.
And when did y'all's shelter in place start?
I haven't been out of the house. I've only been out once in the last 10 weeks.
Mhm.
I'm going out again later today. I have to get another blood test. I work with my primary care doctor on the phone, but he still makes me go out and get blood tests every once in a while.
How has your health been, Mo?
Pretty good, generally speaking, yeah.
You said you're using a walker now.
Yeah, my back has just been
Oh, yeah.
getting worse and worse. I was getting along with the cane for quite a long time, but here, well, not quite a year ago, but close, physical therapist told me I should use the walker all the time. So I do pretty much.
All right. Karen?
Is our time up now?
No. You got plenty of time.
No. Oh, do you have a lot of cases of COVID in your area, or do you know?
Yeah, the Rochester, New York area has, I can't remember the number right now. It's on the 6 o'clock news every night. They update it, but quite a few. I mean, it's not anything like New York City. But we're the biggest metropolitan area in Western New York. So you would expect that. Just from the population density.
I think in our area, we're up to about 61.
61. 61 cases. 2 deaths.
No, that's not bad at all.
And that hasn't changed for a long time. There's 2 dead.
Well,
No.
Brunswick County has fared very well. It's Columbus County, just to the west of here, that
Oh, Columbus,
it's
yeah.
got like 17 deaths, and Columbus County is very, the largest city is Whiteville, and they got 5,000 people, and that's the total county is half the population of Brunswick, and they've got 17.
Wow.
So far.
Yeah, I think mostly the long-term care facilities were affected, as well as our prisons here and processing plants. So when you think about all 3 of those areas, those were places where people were in close contact. But those are our hot spots across North Carolina, and that's why the numbers are so high in the Whiteville area, is because it was quite a few long-term care facilities
Oh.
that were affected.
Actually, the community that I live in has a big, we call it the big house here, which is long-term care facility. And they're very proud of the fact, I got the update today, that they have not yet had a single staff member or, resident test positive for COVID.
That is fantastic.
Yeah,
That's really.
they're very proud of that, and they should be,
It should be, yeah.
Yes.
Karen, Leslie has made the suggestion that we go around the room and do updates from our individuals, allow each one of us to tell what's up and happening with them. What do you think about that?
That sounds good to me.
Lead it off with Leslie.
Unmute. Well, I don't have a whole lot to say, except I do have a question for Peter. Where did you have dinner that you posted on Facebook?
Oh, well, you haven't been watching carefully. It was because of the answer is on that thread, but it was the Brentwood in Little River.
Yep, thank you.
Welcome.
It looks so good. Yeah, South
It was.
Carolina is opening a lot faster than us, so.
And
okay.
they're doing social distancing beautifully.
Good.
We ate outside and the tables were more than 6 feet apart. All the servers wore masks and gloves and
There were hand washing sanitation stations on the way in and the way out, and they encouraged them to be used during dinner.
And can you make a reservation or you just show up?
reservation
Yeah,
only.
reservation.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to ask.
And that's
Mike?
our news too.
Where is Brentwood?
In Little River. It's a nice restaurant.
So
Nice wines.
you got to go inside and sit down?
We ate outside, but you can go in and sit down too. They're practicing social distancing inside as well, but we chose outside.
Interesting.
But they're all set for that. They have a big patio that's open most of the year, and they have like a Thursday night lobster thing that they have out on the patio, and that's where their the outside dining thing started around in Myrtle Beach area, and that's what started them off on this.
Good.
Very nice.
Thank you. I think we're up to Mike Reeves. What do you got going, Michael?
Got a lot of construction going on around my house. I'm remodeling my entire upstairs, my house. So we've had a lot of banging and a lot of noise. But I have been working. I did want to mention to you, most of you know I work part-time for Peacock Union White
Yeah.
Funeral Home, and I've been called in several times to help with private funeral services. And I was a little hesitant to do it to start with, but I decided they needed me, so I did it. And it's so sad what families are going through now with when they have a death and not able to get hugs and close family members. But I think it's going to change the funeral industry tremendously. I think those funeral homes that have not been doing videos of funeral services, probably that's going to be the big thing, so people don't have to travel from out of state maybe to come in. You're going to see more and more of that, and you're going to. I don't know. I just think it's caused. Well, a lot of things are going to change, but I think particularly for the funeral industry. So, but anyway, but it's sad though. It's at a time when people are really needing comfort and encouragement. Not to be able to hug them and get close to them is just sad. That's it.
Bill.
Well, a lot of Zooming with the kids and the grandkids, visiting with them, staying up to date with them, and making some plans with all of them for later this summer. So that's good. That and lots and lots and lots of golf. We're still playing a lot of golf here. And social distancing, but visiting with you know, the neighbors and the golf groups that we're in during the week. So that's keeping us very busy and doing a lot of stuff outside. So that's good.
How are you coming with QuickBooks?
Thanks to you, we are up and running, and everything seems to be working fine, Daryl. I just have a couple of minor questions that I'll get with you in the next day or two on, but no, thanks again. That's able to do the reconciliation for the bank statements and get the reports sent out a couple of days ago, and we're interested to see how Mary is doing with the foundation. We've gotten another check in the mail just recently for the foundation. So, but thanks, Daryl. Yeah.
Ted Senior.
Good to see you.
Keeping active with the kids, the grandkids, and I find out I'm going to be a great grandfather.
Oh,
boy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We keep busy here at the preserve. It's wonderful. We have a fire pit where we can talk at night and stay 6 feet apart. And it's been very pleasant. We're keeping busy. We had an instance yesterday where I had the dryer vent cleaned out. And we found out the people that built the preserve never put a vent in. So the dryer was, when we opened that up, it was wow. We flooded the place with vent.
Wow.
We now have a dryer vent. But I can't believe for 10 years the dryer operated with no vent.
Wow.
oh, whoa.
So
Lucky it
lucky
wasn't
we
a
have
fire.
So I'm blessed.
Yeah.
One thing to bring up, Philadelphia Rotary did have 600 and some members, but almost all the big banks and big companies wanted a representative. Well, they'd show up for lunch, but they never got involved in any of the activities. The core group was only maybe 30, 40 people. And I really respect this club for the number of people that are active in everything you do. I'm very happy here.
And I got to see you, Ted, for about, 5 minutes when I had to drop something off. It was so nice seeing him live and in person, but distanced. It was fun.
Hey, we're down to Ted Jr.
As you can see, Mo, I got demoted. I used to be the only Ted. Now I'm Ted 2, not 1, 2. I've been pushed down. The only news I have is what I'm wearing. My son is just finishing up graduating in the MBA program at Columbia.
Oh, good.
That's about all the news I have. We're all doing fine.
Good. I just greeted with welcome to Moe's.
Yeah.
Early.
I miss saying that every time I saw you come in, Mo.
Oh, yeah. Peter, did you ever get that mini redone?
Yes, the Mini Mocha is on the road and running now.
Oh, good.
Then there's a Bug Eye Sprite along with it too. That's
really?
1960 Bug Eye Sprite. That's just about completely finished.
Wow.
Ooh.
Do you still have to throw the anchor out to stop it?
Oh, I've got a special set of shoes for that. I just open the door and put on these shoes, and just drag them on. It's so light, it's very easy to stop.
I'm happy to know you love the classic cars. I love them, but I haven't found anybody down here to share my hobby with.
Oh, we're here.
Well, we have a guy.
You need to go to Eric's.
Eric's Grill.
Eric's Grill. He
Yeah.
has several old cars, and you can see his walls. They have a group that come there every so often, so he can put you on to it.
I'd like to follow up on that.
Yeah, Just go into
There-
area. There's a show every year, but it was canceled this year.
First weekend in May.
I had a shop at the farm where I actually built cars. I built a dune buggy, a 63 Corvette Stingray
Oh,
tractor.
Well, Mark has a nice 57 Chevy too.
Yeah.
55.
55.
55.
I knew that. I knew that.
And there's Ted. There are two groups here in town. There is a club called the Cape Fear Cruisers, and once we're able to meet in person, they meet at Cafe Koa once a month, and they do cruise-ins and they do the 2 shows. There's a group in Southport, a very loosely organized group. And they're called something like, I think they're called Wheels by the Sea.
Oh, that's in St. James.
Yeah.
A lot of guys from St. James who have classic cars. They don't really have much of an organization, and they don't really meet, but they have regular cruise-ins, ice cream runs, that kind of stuff. So there is a fairly active classic car community here in Southport. It's a bunch of guys who have enough money to waste it on old cars. So
We don't have cars and coffee, do we, anywhere?
No.
in Wilmington they do.
Wilmington.
And it's huge. I went one time that there had to be 300 cars there.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cars and coffee. Wilmington's really big.
Thank you.
Haven't heard.
For those of you who don't know, I drove past Ted's farm twice a day for 20 years.
Really?
Oh, really?
oh,
He lived about halfway between my home out in the Pine Barrens and my office in the little town of Mount Holly.
but you didn't know him?
No.
No, I
You
knew
didn't-
that the farm was owned by somebody named Eckenhoff because his name was on the mailbox. When we met, and he said, "Oh," I said, he asked me what club I had belonged to up north, and I mentioned Mount Holly. He said, "Oh, I lived in the next town south of Mount Holly." And I said, "Oh yeah, where'd you live?" And he described. I said, Wait a minute.
Oh,
I drove past his farm.
You're that economic.
They always had lovely irises planted out by
Yeah.
the road. They always looked very, very nice.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Earlene.
okay. Well, I want to thank God for such a beautiful spring during all this virus that we're facing, but we are enjoying such a beautiful spring. And I've enjoyed working in my yard, and I've got some beautiful orange lilies blooming now. And I've been staying in touch with my volunteer friends at Maritime Museum and the hospital. Don't know when we'll get to go back to any of those. And staying in touch with friends. It's really been nice to hear from a lot of my Boone friends.
Oh.
Appalachian State.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Keeping
So we've
in
got all
touch.
these university types around, and Mo, you bound to be the patron saint of SUNY.
Oh, yeah, you think so?
How many people you got there? You've got enough to elect you already in the system.
I spent 33 years there, and I've got 5 of my 8 grandkids there. So different branches, of course, but
Going back minutes. SUNY.
All right, Dave. We haven't heard from you.
Yeah, let me unmute. Okay. It's been quiet at our house, but interesting. Out of the blue yesterday, I got a very long letter from my Italian sister. What I call her. She was an exchange student, lived with our family for a year back in the 60s. I was in college. She's my sister's age, but she, you know, Italy's been hit pretty hard with this virus. And she said, finally, the churches and the bars are starting to reopen. And most everything else is starting to reopen in Italy. So she's pretty happy about it. And I guess I need to sit down and return the letter to her, tell her what's going on this side of the country. My sister called her a couple of weeks ago. She sprung for a overseas call to find out how she was. But she has a brother and a sister, and they have families. And she said everybody in her family is well, and nobody has it. So that's good news. Otherwise, things are quiet here. I did have a visitor last week, unexpectedly. My granddaughter, who used to live with us, opened the door and walked in one night last week about 9 o'clock. We didn't even know she was coming. We just got in the car and drove here from Maryland. So she spent several days here and then turned around and went back home. So, so that's about it for the Morgan family.
Karen?
Well, I told you guys last week that my son would be getting out of the military. Well, I received word this past Monday, they have flown him back to the United States. He is in Norfolk, and we will be picking him up next week. So I'm trying to spend as much time with my granddaughter as I can, because he's going to take her away from me, and I'm not going to be very happy. But we've been having a good time. I've been working from home, and I'm just, I want to go back to church, and I want to exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hang in there. We're going to get there.
Yes.
And that's about all I've been up to, playing with my granddaughter.
Okay, the time.
I think we haven't heard from Jan's iPad.
Oh, Jan?
That's Clay.
I know. Just kidding. Take us off mute, Clay. Off mute.
I babysit on the week during the week, but on the weekends we get off, and we had rented a house next door to my daughter's, but owner wanted it back, and so because they live in Florida, but they use it periodically, and so we are at a house we have in the mountains, and it's about 1,500 feet higher, and so stuff that's blooming here has not started to bloom there. And it's been very interesting to be here this time of the year and see it over a progression of weeks, because anybody lived up north, I suspect they see this all the time, but we don't see it. And it is where there's a very bright lime green that is the original new leaves that come out on these trees. And as you go up the mountain, why it's still brown, but dead from the winter, but they all turn green, and it's a pretty dramatic, vivid green. And it's a phenomenal contrast as those leaves age out and turn from the bright green to this to their normal color. But anyhow, it's been an interesting experience for us, and we have a good bit of land up there, and we have about 8 acres probably of hemlock, which is all died from an aphid epidemic in North Carolina and in the Carolinas. And in fact, Ben Wilson's son was involved, I believe, in a beetle that they introduced at Mount Mitchell, and it's gradually, we're about 6 miles from Mount Mitchell by air, and they say that beetle progresses about 2 miles a year, and so theoretically those plants should be, those that are alive should be able to make it now, but most people in our area have lost theirs long ago, this aphid. And so for me, it's a great joy is to cut down these trees and then to haul them off and with a tractor and take the timber to a pile that is just going to deteriorate all centralized, but at least it clears out those woods. So it's been a fun project for me on the weekends.
Fantastic. Karen?
What about you, Daryl? We didn't get
Oh,
enough.
I've already talked. It's time to close.
All right. Well, I
I
just
have a very quick question. St. James has a annual flea market, and we have got tons of storage units filled with stuff, and we're not going to have it. We've made a decision, so I need to donate it. Does anybody have a contact at Boys and Girls Club? Because they used to take our leftovers when we were done with the flea market.
I can,
So if you,
I can arrange that, Leslie. Easy.
can you just give me a name of a contact is all I need.
Yeah, Mason Smith.
Okay.
And he's responsible for gathering stuff like that.
You have his
Also-
contact information, you can just send me. I
All
don't
right,
want to.
and also, Leslie, I'm working with the Brunswick Christian Recovery Center. I'm doing my own nonprofit is doing a joint venture with them in Chadbourne. And I will call, do you prefer to do it for the Boys and Girls Home?
No, because what we have to do, Daryl, is they can't come pick and choose. We have about 8 storage units down at Century.
Okay.
Sight unseen, it's furniture mostly, and then we have all the tchotchke stuff in 2 units. So
Okay.
it literally means you have to come in with a truck, take what's ever there, and leave. So
Okay.
if that you could make work, then call me.
Okay, I can make it work.
wow.
All right, I'll give you the
Oh.
information and we'll put you in touch with Mason Smith, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Well, I want to say thank you, Mo, for being on our call.
Yes, Mo.
Thank you,
Enjoy
Mo.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank
Good
Daryl
to
and
see
thank
you, Mo.
Feel
David.
free to join us anytime. And I'm
Yes.
so glad that you are doing well. And I just want to remind you guys, go vote for our video on the Zone 33 public image video.
Now,
And
what's that number?
it's an email that came from Doug Wolf.
Yeah, I saw that, but which one do you vote for?
Yeah, there are a lot of them.
The one for Zone 33.
Oh, okay, Zone 33.
Yeah, you're Zone 33. There's 2 of them.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then don't forget about the 5 o'clock video call this afternoon with Women in Rotary. And as we close, if you can see behind me, I have the 4-way test.
I see it.
So is everybody unmuted?
Yeah.
And we can do the 4-way test.
Of all the things that we say, think, and do, is it the truth?
Ruth
Is
is concerned,
Will it build goodwill?
build goodwill and better friendship.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Awesome.
Service above self.
There you
Service above self.
Okay.
That's it.
Love
Bye,
you,
everybody.
All right.
Bye, Mo.
Thank you.
See ya.
Maybe I'll see you next
See you,
week.
See you, Mo.
Bye, Mo.
Bye.
Bye, Mo.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.